Mr. Parton got from the family, so we need something better to start. It's no staff issue, but we just had some problems getting that started. So, Mr. Schiebel, if you could go ahead, and the honorable is what we're all going with for both of these.
Correct. Do we need a motion for that?
Yeah, we're going to do that, but we're going to ask Mr. Schiebel to order those and give us an idea when they're going to be here, and probably
about 30 days.
30 days.
We can have them installed in about 30 days.
So maybe by the end of October, we could do this before it starts getting really cold and everybody can be outside. And then we're going to work with Mr. Parton and the Morris family to make sure we get a portrait to hang in the clerk's or in the judge's courtroom. Thank you. Before then. All right, now we'll take a motion on the honorable. Who wants to make the honorable motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion by Mr. Black, seconded by Mr. Taylor, that the naming for the courthouse circuit and general district will include the honoree's name and the words honorable. And if I may add to your motion that we're going to work with the Morris family to make sure that happens by the end of October too.
So moved.
Okay, thank you. All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. That motion carries unanimously, so that takes care of agenda item number 6. We did 7, revenue sharing. 8 is pulled. Number 9, is that Mrs. Schuler? Well, how are you doing?
She had to wait all this time.
I'm sorry, I saw you and then Mike was standing there. I would have let you go ahead. Before you even come forward, the last time I saw you, you said, was I going to say bad things about you the next time you came to the board? Well,
Yeah.
I'm not.
I'm
You
glad to hear it.
expanded in the Lake Caroline, Lake Landor area, so I'm not going to say anything. But we're still missing a whole lot of territory. But you did expand. That means I'm not going to say anything bad. I don't know what they're going to do. But I try to keep my promises. So, all right, you're here to talk about the agreement we've got for Comcast and the county. We got the information from our county attorney. Is there anything you'd like to add?
Well, I thought that, the cover memo just said that I would review some of the major aspects of this with the board, and so I talked to Marie, and we just thought we could sort of go through, just hit some of the highlights very quickly. Of course, and then if the board had any questions for me or Marie, we could do that. And so, going through the agreement that's in your packet, I'll just say, I think I've been working on this agreement for as long as I've been an attorney, or at least an attorney working for Caroline County, which has been a very long time. And
Yeah.
since that time, the law has changed significantly, technology has changed significantly, so I, for one, am happy to be able to present this to you, and hopefully you'll vote on it in the near future. But that being said, the definitions, should be self-explanatory and are based on federal state law, so I won't spend time on those. I'll point out on page 6, the term is for 15 years, which is fairly standard. Going through the next area, on page 9, there's a lot of legalese. On pages 7 and 8, but page 9, the provision of cable service, some of the provisions that the board might be particularly interested in. Section 3.1, the availability of cable service and how it will be extended. So the cable services will be serving its current area, and then whenever there are 25 dwelling units per mile along an extension route, that's when Comcast would extend the service into a particular area. So that's how it grows.
25 per mile.
25 per mile, yes, sir. And then as far as cable drops, anybody within 150 feet of that line would get their standard cable drop. And again, that's fairly common within the industry and within our neighboring jurisdictions. I can't say that some are better, but some are far worse. That's pretty standard. So.
And that's a requirement.
And that's the requirement.
So if I build an apartment house with 25 units in it, 3/4 of a mile away from where it is now, they're required to connect.
Yes.
Correct.
Is that fixed or kind of fuzzy? If I get 24 instead of 25,
If you're less than a mile, it would fit the density requirements we would build.
I'd also point out 3.1.3. This is a provision years ago when the negotiations started with Comcast, but also with MetroCast. There was a particular concern by some of the members of the board as to what types of services were being offered in the county, and there was a concern that we wanted to make sure the residents of Caroline County had the same types of services that were being offered in, whether it was Spotsylvania or Richmond or anywhere else. And so in this provision, the Comcast is currently served on the Richmond network, and so Caroline will get everything that's on Richmond. But if it's served by a different hub, and Marie could probably explain this better than I could, but it's still on the Comcast network. So everything that's offered on that whole network, would be available in Caroline County to Caroline County residents. So hopefully we've addressed that problem.
And this speaks to some of the concerns that the board had when I came and spoke to you previously, in that we acquired the system that was in Caroline County from Mid-Atlantic Broadband, and it was an old SMATFI system, which is basically a standalone system. It was a satellite system that just fed a very small geographic area. The channel lineup was very limited. I think it was only 33 some channels. It was a 330 plant, and it was a one-way system. So there were a lot of, on the video side, a lot of advanced services like the video on demand and certainly the interactive guides, things like that, that were not available to the residents at all. When we went back in several years ago and upgraded the system, and we actually built fiber into Caroline County and connected it through our Richmond system. So that's the connection into our network right now. But because you're connected to the network, you have access to all the services that we provide to the surrounding areas, and those are all the advanced services that the residents at the time were looking for.
Right.
Can I ask?
Okay. You wanted to go through them first?
Yeah,
Was
go
that,
ahead.
you had more?
But
Go ahead. I'll wait till you
Okay.
get to this one.
okay. So that's generally the provision of cable service. Section 4, beginning on page 11, construction and maintenance requirements, which are extensive but should be self-explanatory. Page 16, the testing of the system, we believe is, what's appropriate under federal law. The system, on page 17, the system, facilities, and equipment. I mean, these are minimums. Again, this was intended years ago to address, what kind of system we wanted. As you've heard what Marie has said, there's been an upgrade. So, probably it meets and exceeds that right now. But those minimum requirements are in there. Starting on page 20, the channels and facilities, what the board might be interested in, 6.1 on page 21 are the access channels.
Local access.
Local access channels. And what the agreement provides for is initially one access channel, and then in the future, if the county can show that there are a particular need that channel, is full, and we've got a need for up to 2 more channels, then there would be a potential for 3 channels. If this were a cable franchise ordinance under state law, the state would require up to 3. So, that's sort of the standard. So we don't get it right now because maybe don't need it, but if you do, there's a mechanism that the county could get that under this agreement, under particular triggers.
And they're going to show the county board meetings now on this?
Yes.
Then there's my question is, how will we get the media? Where does the media go for that to be done? Does it go to Richmond for the local access channel? How do we get the media to?
We have DVDs now.
Yeah,
that
the
we
DVDs,
record.
yes. The DVDs will be delivered to our Richmond, what we call, they will actually be played back from the head end. So the The head end is the distribution network where we receive all our services.
So that's
and
in
do all
Richmond?
ours. That is in Richmond, yes.
Is it possible to do it in shorter than 6 months?
Yes.
Because it says 6 months from whenever we approve, and one of the big things I always get from the folks on that side of the county is, because on the Bowling Green side, we already have them, is it possible to do this sooner than 6 months, I guess was the question.
Yes, it absolutely is, and that was certainly one of Mr. Black's concerns also.
Okay.
And so we are currently putting the plans in place to be able to do the DVDs sooner rather than later.
Okay.
And then we also we're looking at some other technologies that may help to facilitate being able to do it a little bit more conveniently, both for the county as well as for Comcast.
Okay.
That was it, yeah, because we've been worried about that.
Yeah, yes, and that was one of the points I was going to discuss. Section 6.3, I would just point out the PEG Capital Support Grant. There's a provision in here, under federal law, Comcast and the county could work through some grants that might be available to the county. However, they're based on, county need that's shown. And so, that's not necessarily something that the county is able to do right now, but there's a placeholder in this agreement so that if in the future, within the term of this agreement, the analysis is done, and so it's determined that, yes, here are some opportunities where Comcast may be able to help us out. There's a provision in there that if it's, as long as it meets the federal law requirements and we agree that it's reasonable, that they would provide those grant monies.
Because
Grant monies for
currently, MetroCast pays for filming of our board meetings.
They pay some portion of that.
Portion. So does that mean that we'd get maybe a portion from you all for filming as well? Is that what this is talking about?
The provision, not currently, the provision is that in the future, if you determine that there was a need for PEG funding, and the PEG funding, it covers specifically capital grants, so replacement of equipment, things of that nature. There is a placeholder in here for you to be able to come back and talk with us about it and come to some type of terms or arrangement to be able to do that.
Okay.
And I think there,
Can I ask a question? Do I have to have cable TV service to get access to your internet service? And that's
No.
all bundled.
No, we do have bundled packages, but you can purchase the
But I could
the
just get internet
services
separately?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, if cable's
Yeah.
by my house, then I could just say, I would just like internet, nothing else.
The infrastructure that we have built supports the cable television service, the internet service, telephone service, as well as our Xfinity Home, which is like home automation services.
Oh, right, you got Xfinity. Okay, that is you guys. Okay, okay. I'm sorry, thank you.
and just good to go back to the 6.3, that's really just a, a requirement that there be some substantiation. So, whatever need the county might have, whether it's additional monies for the videotaping of the programs, I think it's all, available, open for discussion. It's just Comcast, under federal law, requires that there be documented analysis done that the county just currently hasn't had done. Has MetroCast agreed to just, sort of provide those monies? Yes, it has, but, so I don't think Comcast is doing anything that it's not within its rights to do.
Yeah, most of the laws are in their favor.
Why, yes, they are. And again, 6.4 for Mr. Seeley, and for Mr. Black, that's the sections that are dealing with the DVDs, and so how the DVDs will originally be provided to Comcast, who will put them on, and how they'll be put on, and that they're looking for these other opportunities, including IP transmission over Connect Fiber. So that's something I think that what Marie's talking about that might be available. Also, I would point out 6.4.2, if at any point in the the term of this agreement, it does become economically feasible that Comcast does run a direct fiber feed, and so that it's economically feasible for them to do so, then that's when, a direct feed, might be an option, to the extent that some other technology doesn't supersede even a direct feed. That's the thing with these agreements. You
Right.
anticipate that, 15 years we'll get this great technology and we won't have to worry about DVDs or IP and then something else.
Right.
That
It
neither one of
allows us the flexibility to kind of move with what the technology is
Right.
driving.
Yeah. But
And
that's
we'd hope
there.
you do that, yeah.
So at minimum, that
That's fair.
opportunity's in there. On page 24, section 7, customer service standards, which for, when we first started this, those were huge. So, I tried to front load as many customer service standards as they could possibly stomach in this agreement. So hopefully,
One question right there.
Yeah.
Your customer service people are all located within the United States?
The customer service people on the phone, we have centers throughout the United States. We also do have some sites that are
world centers.
offshore.
Okay.
All our technical people are, they're local out of Richmond. They're coming out of Richmond.
Okay. And it's not just Comcast, it's Verizon. I called for help with Verizon, and I'm sent to some foreign country, and personally, I don't like that, because I think people in America should get a job answering the phone and saying, you can do this. I know you're not making that decision, but this was my platform to say I think that's wrong. So, okay.
all right, then the next sections, 8, just reports and records, 9, insurance indemnification, which is fairly standard, 10, performance bonds. Section 11 and 12 is something that this agreement has that the prior one didn't, which are remedies and enforcement proceedings, including liquidated damages. One of the problems before was, well, if there were a problem with a customer service standard, what could somebody really do, or what could the county do? And this allows for liquidated damages at the very least. So if there's a violation of customer service standards, there's an opportunity for Comcast to pay, they're not.
And we're hoping you
They're not-
never have to use it.
That's right. But it gives the board more, tools in the toolbox, instead of just saying, there's not really much we can do about this. There are more options, for really, going after and getting some liquidated damages and hitting them in the wallet at the very least. And so those are set out in section 12, and then section 14 is, a lot more legalese, but in a nutshell, that is your new cable franchise ordinance proposal. Franchise agreement
Franchise
proposal,
agreement.
thank you.
And you've actually reviewed this, you just refreshed our memories here,
Yes.
but basically you would think the county's ready to sign this agreement now? You don't need to review it anymore?
I don't have any more legal issues, and I've met several times with Mr. Parton and Mr. Cully, and so I think we're comfortable with recommending it, but certainly if you've got any questions.
All right.
We do have to have a public hearing on it,
Yeah,
but other than that, yes, sir.
I mean, that's our next move, is to
Yes.
go to public.
Yeah.
How about a franchise fee?
Franchise fees aren't allowed anymore. There's a telecommunications tax that went into effect several years ago. So instead, there's a tax that's collected from all the customers, as I recall, but then it goes to the
that
state,
just
and the
Virginia?
state,
Is that nationwide?
Richmond disperses it.
It goes to
Is
the
that
state.
FCC? Or is that state?
It's-
State.
It actually went into effect in 2007, and it was a initiative by the state to redefine some of the communications tax, and if you noted, some of the telecommunication taxes decreased, but it included satellite service under this umbrella. So for the purposes of the county was kept whole in that you paid a 5% franchise fee, but and that was converted to a 5% communications tax. And then the other part of it was that, with the adjustment to the telecommunications, the telephone taxes, and the taxes on satellite, in totality, the county should have been made whole on it.
Operative word there was should.
And it isn't
Well, that's up to
pro
the
rata.
state.
Yeah,
It is not.
again, nothing to do with you.
It's not.
I'm keeping my word, But that was the state. The state gets the money first.
State gets money first. We actually pay, instead of paying on a quarterly or annual basis, we pay the state on a monthly basis, and then that's reimbursed to the county on a monthly basis.
Mr. Black, you had a question?
Yeah, I may have missed this, but as of right now, like the school board and the planning commission are not filmed at all, correct?
Or not what?
The school board and the planning commission meetings are not filmed at all.
No.
Correct.
Just
So,
us.
Just us. As now, will they now be filmed?
No, that's, I mean, they're just saying they're going to broadcast it.
tape it, right?
We provide the tape,
Right.
but we would have to make a decision on filming the planning commission, and I guess the school board would have to make a decision on filming their own meetings, or we could expand the contract that we have to expand those, but I don't think that's relevant for the,
Okay, I was just
The
kind of
contract.
curious because I think a lot of people are.
I think you should bring that up at another time,
Right,
because that
okay,
is very
yes.
important.
The other thing too is, as far as the mile is concerned, do we have, is that something you have to do if there's 25 within the mile, 25 residents, you have to do that? So do you?
25 homes within the mile from our
right?
contiguous, from our existing plant.
Right.
So if there are 25 homes within the mile and they're within.
Has that been reviewed? Have you reviewed that in Caroline? Have you, in other words, are you all tapped out as far as the 25 in Caroline, or are there places that you need to go because of this?
I don't believe that there is any place currently that we need to go. When we did the upgrade, we actually extended the services.
Right,
and the
right,
construction department keeps a pretty close eye on what the development is in the county. So if there is a subdivision that's being added, they keep an eye on it. And I try to look at, the records to see if there's any development that's taking place. But if you know of any area that we perhaps have not captured, I definitely could go back and look.
That was my question.
was the next question. I'm sure he wants to say something.
Okay.
No, I know, but I was thinking, is it 25? Well, what I'm saying is, let's say you go 10 houses for the first 3 miles or 2 miles, but when you get to the end, you've got 400 homes there.
If someone in the 400 homes is requesting, the last person in that 400 homes is requesting service, we would look at the total mileage and the total number of homes.
And look
So
at-
400
Yeah.
divided by, the 2 miles definitely meets the density.
You didn't get them. You didn't get it. Huh? It's probably 3 miles, yeah. That's-
Yeah, Caroline
down
Pines
there.
does.
Yeah, that was one of the ones you expanded.
Yes, that's correct.
But
Certain 125.
But reality, we understand it's a business decision for you. You're not going to wire the whole county because the density's not there.
Exactly.
And that's,
Yeah,
we
it does
understand.
come down to a return on the investment.
Right.
Although I do have to say the construction department tries to take a very liberal view and try to build as much as they can because that's what they're in the business to do.
Yeah, I see there's a section here that talks about business. Yeah, I know there's one group, in fact, the group just left a few minutes ago. Did they ever get internet or anything like that, Mr. Wilson?
At Sports Bar?
Sports complex. I know the guy that ran it beforehand constantly was talking about they needed access to internet to that business over there.
I don't think he ever mentioned that.
I can certainly take the information and go back and look.
Gary's over there.
This agreement is actually for residential service. For commercial service, there is a contract that is negotiated with the business, and the terms and conditions are slightly different. The business model is a little bit different. In some ways, it's, the service that they're getting has different service level agreements, so response times, et cetera, are a little bit different. Certainly the build-out, they've got a little bit different model when it comes to the build-out. They'll actually contribute a little bit more, but then as a business, they're paying more for the services because the services are slightly different with both television and with the internet service.
I know at one time, a couple of years ago, that's one concern they had.
Yeah. I don't, he didn't
With all the
mention it.
wireless stuff.
Yeah.
With all the wireless stuff, now it's probably a lot less of an issue because everybody can roll in there with a wireless card with all the cell towers and you're on.
Yeah, on the internet side, yes.
All right, Mrs. Schuler, thank you very much for coming. I think the board needs to have action as a motion to bring this to public hearing, and that would be it. So, Mr. Black, is that your motion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to bring the proposed franchise agreement between Caroline County and Comcast to public hearing.
Second.
Okay, motion made by Mr. Black, seconded by Mr. Akers. Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you again for all your hard work.
Thank you. I know there's several members of the board that have been around for a while, and this has been a long time in coming, and we're glad to see it all come together, and hopefully it'll be beneficial to the county and to Comcast. Thank
Okay, we
you.
look forward to it. Thanks again. All right, that takes care of agenda item number 9. Moves us to informational calendar items. Number 10, capital projects update. I believe it's Mr. Cully.
We included a new capital projects update sheet for your review. You have the high school groundbreaking Friday the 19th, 10 o'clock. And on the 23rd, our next meeting, we have the 50-mile meal in the EOC at 4:30. So that's one of the things to keep in mind. We'll be meeting at 4:30 for the 50-mile meal before our regular meeting. And on the Friday, the 26th, the State Fair opens. It's opening day at the State Fair, and then that whole following week. Next regular meeting after that is the 14th, the day after the Columbus Day holiday, in which the county offices will be closed. That's a state holiday. Has been for 28 years I've been doing it. Bowling Green Harvest Festival is the 18th. Frog Level Fall Festival is the 25th. And this is a Pam question. Have we nailed down the annual legislators get together? And that'll be on the Tuesday, the 28th, at their building, their facility over there across from the high school.
Okay, we meet again on the 23rd.
Right, at 4:30.
Okay, I'm going to ask Mrs. Hall, because I would like to have a constituents meeting sometime the first week in October or something like that. And then I have a chance to announce it again. So I'm going to work on a couple of dates with her and my schedule this week. Okay.
I need to be in-house.
Like we're all probably going to try to do the same thing now. I should have just told you on the phone.
And then they're going to put on your dates.
I asked first. Okay.
Could I ask a question?
Yes,
about-
you may, Mr. Taylor.
On the 16th, the Columbia Gas meeting, and I don't know how many board members plan to go, but I would like to, and I was wondering if maybe we should recess to the 16th, unless board members are planning to attend. I don't know.
Well, that's
That's not a meeting.
kind of, yeah.
You couldn't.
It's really just a celebration of Columbia Gas
So we
extending their
don't
line.
need to, okay.
Yeah, it's
Conduct
not,
any public business.
it's not we are not going to have a public discussion
Right,
together,
I tried to respond to that.
so.
okay. It's at 5:30, but I mean, okay.
It's at 5:30, yeah. I mean, that's a good point, Mr. Taylor, because normally if we were doing something where we got together, we'd have to worry about it.
Yeah, this,
All right,
We didn't schedule it. Yeah, we can probably have a meeting. I got court that morning with my wife.
Oh,
We have a meeting at Richmond.
Okay, gentlemen? That's the way to do it. I've done that one too. All right, closing board comments, Mr. Seeley,
I have none, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Akers.
Mr. Chairman, I do have a question for Mr. Shebel, if I may.
You may.
A month or so ago, I had inquired about disposing of vegetable oil. And I understood you to tell me that we had stopped it for a while because the person that was taking it, something happened and they didn't take it anymore. But we had started to receive vegetable oil at the convenience sites.
We did, and then that got pulled as well, the company that was doing it. There's an issue that they were using it in animal food, and it got contaminated, and then the company pulled out. We had another company that came in and started, and they pulled out, and we can't find anybody that will do it at no cost now. I actually went back after you had asked that question, and we looked at what it would cost to be able to do that, and it's around about $1,200 a month to be able to provide that service. Where before we were getting it done free, they gave us the tank, they would come pump it when it was full at no cost to the county. So it was quite a bit of cost in our budget, which we just couldn't absorb without having some adjustments.
So what do we tell people to do with the vegetable oil that they are disposing? Throw it in the green box, into the compactor?
That's not recommended. I mean, it is a non-hazardous material, and as a homeowner, it could be done. But when it does get up in there, it leaks out, and then it comes in as part of the leachate that we end up handling.
What do we tell them to do with it?
We haven't had that question come before since we
You
stopped
have it
taking
now, because I was approached at church by the same person that asked me 2 months ago and said he had gone and tried to dispose of some, and they said, no, we don't take it. We haven't for a long time.
But we take used motor oil.
We do take
No,
We take used motor oil.
That's
They
correct.
take used motor oil. We have a blue tank there.
And we
for
actually
that.
get paid for that now.
But it's the vegetable oil.
Yeah, because they make it diesel.
So what
Can
do
you
we
pour it
do
in
with
there?
it? What do they do with it?
Can I pour vegetable oil in
I
there?
don't know, I was just thinking the same thing when he asked that question of whether we could put it in there, so we'll get with them. I know that they test that when they come in, and depending on if they found a contaminant, whether we get paid or not. So we try to keep up, but if they'll take that, I'll ask that question from the
Yeah.
vendor.
Maybe that's the answer. Because we got a tank there for motor oil, and they're processing the motor oil again, some cases making diesel fuel.
Yeah, they use all transmission fluids,
And we're pouring that in the same container? Oh, yeah, that's it.
anything
That's good,
automotive
because
related.
There's a problem. I mean,
You're already
there are
pouring them in the
people
same
that-
container.
I'm going to look and
Yeah,
see,
economically.
because it's definitely an issue that we've gotten Dawn. We looked at just providing the service in the Dawn area because that septic system down there cannot handle grease at all, and they need a place to dispose of that. So that was the main reason why we really wanted to continue the program, at least at that facility, because there is an issue and they need to be able to dispose of that appropriately.
All right.
But we need to provide means for other people in the rest of the county to do the same thing. Even though I'm glad that the darn people are going to dispose of their
Reggie?
grease.
They could take it to Dawn, and they'll let you watch cable in there. All right, Mr. Underwood, closing board comments?
No, sir, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Black?
No, sir, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Taylor?
No, sir, Mr. Chairman.
And I have none either. We have a presumably short closed meeting, and we need a motion for the board to convene in closed meeting pursuant to the prospective business exemption, section 2.23711A5 of the Code of Virginia, to provide status updates to the board on several potential businesses that are considering locating in the county and about which no previous public announcement has been made. Is there a motion to that? Mr. Akers, is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Underwood and Mr. Seeley, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. That motion carries unanimously. We'll take a 5-minute break, and we'll go into the...
Closed session?
Oh, thank you so much. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Seeley and seconded by Mr. Akers to come out of closed session. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The motion carries unanimously. Mr. Taylor, do you certify that only those things that we went into closed session were discussed?
Also certified, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Black?
I so certify.
Mr. Underwood?
I so certify.
Mr. Akers?
I so certify.
Mr. Seeley,
ISO certified?
and I so certify, there was no action to be taken from the closed meeting. County attorney would only let us talk about the things we went into. Couldn't talk about the Yankees or the Cowboys and Redskins. So, motion to adjourn to 4:30 here for the 50-mile meal.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second? Is there a second? Mr. Akers, Mr. Seeley motion, Mr. Akers second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. The motion carries unanimously, and